Kia ora, g'day, welcome back once again, here with the part 3 reaction to Mr. J. Cole on the Sean Ryan Show. J. Cowell, former 2-2 SAS operator, charged with murder. So let's jump back in.
Sounds like you were a bit of a hellion as a kid.
A bit of
A hellion.
hellion.
Got into some trouble.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
When did that start?
So I moved around a whole bunch. So in order to answer that question, you have to kind of go back to the beginning.
You lived in India for 6 months.
Yeah, we traveled around India. So my mom's, she's the bravest woman I've ever met. And yeah, in about 1994, 1995, I was about 6. She must have been, well, early 20s. Took me out of school for 6 months. Like, right, we're going to India. I'm like, cool. So 6 months we traveled around India. But you have to bear in mind,
She just picked up and
she
said,
just
"We're
fucking
going to
picked up
India."
and left. Done.
Why India?
She just wanted to go traveling. Free spirit, right? She's a hippie. Which is ironic because I'm not. But yeah, she flew out to India. No iPhone, no internet, no nothing. A Lonely Planet guide, 2 backpacks. I had one, she had one. And we just went traveling around India. And I'll never forget that experience. The first couple of days we got there, there's a place in Delhi, I think it's called the Red Fort. And it's this big picturesque. I've never, ever had an experience of extreme poverty and desperation as I've seen there. And she took me out of a fairly regular, comfortable city in the UK and parachuted me, you know what I mean, into that situation. She did that for a fucking reason. She wanted me to see what it was like, what the world is like outside of our bubble, which was the best thing she could have done. And she hit me hard with it straight away. She was like, it will never get work. You will never, like, we had a lovely time in India. We saw all kinds of beautiful things and all kinds of, incredible experiences. But straight off the bat, she was like, this is what it's like. And I'll always, I'll love her for that, because that was an eye opener. Imagine being a 6-year-old child walking around seeing children with no arms, children with no legs, poor people that are begging for their lives. Like, literally, you're watching people sit on the side of the road, like circling the drain, hungry as fuck, like, that was like, oh, okay, cool. The world isn't a nice place. The world isn't all fucking, roses. And that was good, because she did it straight off the bat. So everything that I saw after that was easy, but we traveled around the whole place. We spent, most of it went up to the Himalayas. We went out to the Taj Mahal. We spent Christmas in Goa. I was playing with G.I. Joe figures. That's what I got for Christmas. Little G.I. Joe figures, G.I. Joe?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I was like building little sand forts and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, so that was cool. So the obsession was still there. And in terms of education, I wrote a diary every single day. I've still got them. Like, maybe it's a paragraph, maybe it's a bit more, maybe put a picture in there. But my reading age went through the roof. I was reading Michael Crichton books. So Jurassic Park, Sphere, what else was there? All those types of books from a very, very early age. So when I got back to the UK and went to school again, my reading age was like a 14-year-old at the age of 6. I was always a reader, and I could write. I was writing my diary every single day. So I didn't come back academically in any worse place than any of the kids of my age.
When did you start your diary?
Every day when I was in India.
And at 6 years old?
6 years old,
yeah.
You
still have that?
Yeah, we still got them, yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, they're cool. I mean, like...
That is unreal. A diary at 6, there's heaps of unreal stuff in there. I mean, awesome credit to his mum and what she did and why, the reasons behind that, which Jay has recognized and understands, to show him another part of the world, to help him realize that, hey, our life isn't as bad as what we might think. I'm sure those are parts of it. But yeah, it just makes me think of and be grateful for my mum with regards to work. It makes me also think of a good friend of mine, Jared Morgan. Him and his sweetheart, they picked up and took their children. I think it was Dion, Taya, Malachi, Monson. Their 4 kids. Picked up their 4 kids and they went and travelled the world. They travelled not because they were wealthy and well off. They lived extremely, what's the word? They lived very humbly as they moved around, took the cheapest flights, to get around having excess baggage. They'd wear multiple layers of clothes, of the clothes that they had, and then, just have carry-on baggage for a lot of the stuff they had. Man, yeah, they're an awesome family. Morgans Go Traveling. I think it may still be up on the internet there somewhere, but a beautiful family and awesome experiences for their children that they will never forget. And I know, based on what just Jay has mentioned, there's a huge shift and change that can happen for people that step outside their bubble that he described and can see other parts of the world, particularly other parts of the world that really struggle, that have poverty and all that sort of stuff. You don't have to be in a war-torn country to see the hardships that people face, and also to then appreciate more fully and understand just how lucky we have it. A lot of the times, I speak for myself, how lucky I have it, how lucky my children have it. And hence why, I'm not wired to give my children everything. I want them to be happy, I want them to be successful, but I also want them to work for what it is that they have. And this is awesome, listening to Jay speak about some of the memories. Diary at 6 years old, every day keeping a diary, reading through the roof, always been a reader. Definitely not me. But pretty awesome to hear.
Some of it's illegible, some of it's complete bullshit, but it's all pictures, and it's like we stick something in, or you can still, when you open up the book, you can smell it. You can smell it. It's cool. Like incense sticks and all sorts in there. It's crazy. I've not seen them for a few years. I spoke to my mum before I came on. I was like, "Have you still got them diaries?" She's like, "We don't have a lot. I don't have a lot of stuff from my childhood. We moved around a lot, and a lot of it get lost in the fire, so to speak. But we've still got them. They're still out there, and hopefully I'll show them to my daughter one day." And but it was a life-changing experience. It really was, and I think it set me up for my future career. I think it set me up as a person. I think it gave me a broader, more wider perspective on life to see that at such an early age. There was a lot of difficult things. It was the first time I ever was in proximity to somebody that got killed. I remember that happening pretty vividly. We were getting off a train and transiting to another train, but there are no bridges. So
where is this?
In India.
In India.
Yeah. We had to cross the platform to platform, and they just used to go, the trains were there, and they just literally just walk across the platform when there wasn't a train and cross step to the next one. And she lifted me up. She jumped up, and about two people behind us crossing the train track. The train that we were crossing shunted like that and dragged the woman underneath it and killed her outright. And I remember sitting there thinking, fucking hell. Like, that's quite a surreal moment as a 6-year-old kid at this time. My mum was great. She just took me away and was like, it's hard lessons, it's like life lessons. It's like life's short, and never, ever take for granted what you've got.
Imagine that could have happened. That could have easily, by the sounds of it, that could have easily have happened to his mum. His mum obviously done what parents do, put the children in a safe place first, or safer place first, and they'll get up after. But man, imagine if she had been in that position, or if there had been some sort of delay or pause or whatever, could have, by the sounds of things, her being dragged underneath.
And even when I'm in the UK and it feels like I've got no money or this or that or whatever, like, it's a lot better than being outside that fucking fort with no arms. Like, you get me? So that kind of gave me a good education. And I would love to do the same thing with my kids, or with my daughter. At some point, if I have children in the future, fucking damn straight we're taking them traveling. I want them to go and see the world, see what it is. Not to say that if you don't do that, you become insulated, but I think it just gives you a broader perspective on.
Yeah, that's a good point. I should have mentioned that as well. It doesn't make you a bad person, right? Or it doesn't make you less considerate, or it doesn't mean that your values aren't as high or anything like that. Nothing like that. But it can definitely be a powerful tool in helping educate your own children, or yourself even. So for myself too, by being in those situations and places where you see that. And it lines up with the message that I try to share as well. Like, we all go through hard stuff. Everybody goes through some difficult times. And I've mentioned multiple times, some people's may be harder, or may be perceived to be harder than others. But yours, mine, other people's, no matter how we might view theirs or how they might view ours, theirs and our challenges are nonetheless significant. And there's stuff that we're working through, and there are some people navigating some dark places for them, trying to come out the other side. But I do hold on to I hold on to the experiences that I've been fortunate to have. And I know that I can always think of moments throughout my life where other people are struggling with far more difficulties and challenges, and it doesn't diminish mine, but it makes me grateful to know that, not in a happy, arrogant, look at them type of way, but just makes me grateful to know that, man, they're still going, they're still fighting, and look at what it is that they're going through. And I'm going through this thing, which I don't think compares to what they're going through. I can definitely keep turning up and stay in the fight. So, yeah, great comments by Jay and what he's mentioned here
on the world and how it is, the reality of it. But yeah, it was a crazy experience. Fucking really cool. I was speaking to her last night about it, and I think again, there's a lot of what happened on that sort of. It's almost like a deployment. It's almost like a 6-month deployment. It's like my first deployment, That's kind of how I feel about it now. But I had my own rucksack. Nobody carried my kit. My mum would carry my kit. I had a sleeping bag in there. All my books, everything was in there. That was it. And I carried it. And we used to trek around the Himalayas, like in Thailand, trekking with elephants and all kinds of mad shit. And I was like, I carried my own fucking pack from the age of 6 years old, and no one fucking helped me. And my mum gave that to me. And that's something that I've carried on. Like, I can do that. I know what it's like when your back hurts, when your feet hurt, when you're cold, hungry, tired, hot, I was experiencing that from a very young age. And as I look forward into my life, I think it gave me a strength. It gave me a strength that allowed me to have a certain level of self-confidence that I could do that type of stuff, if that makes sense.
100%, it makes sense. Sorry for pausing so much. Doing hard things and overcoming them, getting through them, gives anybody, in my opinion, based on some of the things that I've been fortunate to experience as well, gives anybody inner confidence and belief that you can go through and do more and give more.
So yeah, super grateful for that experience. When we kind of got back from India.
Hold on, a sleeping bag.
Yeah.
So were you guys sleeping out in the bush for 6 months?
No, we were staying in hostels or hotels or beach huts or whatever. But like we brought my own sleeping bag, my own mosquito net, all that stuff. We were self-sufficient. It was a snug pack, a little purple snug pack, like a Softy 7 or whatever it was, a super lightweight one. I remember she lost her mind once. I can't remember why, but we got it out on a bus. And the sleep, I don't know why I'm telling you this, but it just comes to my mind. The sleeping bag comes in like a little compression sack, right? And for some reason, we'd taken the sleeping bag out of the compression sack and it had fallen on the floor. And when we got off the bus, she was like, "Where's the sack?" It had been stolen. That's what had happened. Somebody had just found it because it was foreign and new, so they took it. And she was so upset because it was like, we've had that sleeping bag sack for years, well, not years, but months at this point. It's been every part of our journey and now it's gone. And I remember she was like, kit and equipment, kit awareness. I was like, yeah. So
Are you serious?
Yeah, I'm not joking, mate. Yeah. Sean, if you ever meet my mum, and I hope you do one day, like she'll tell you all about this, and she knows more detail than I do because I was a child, so she's got like an incredible level of insight into the whole thing. But that whole experience was great for me. Like, and it was such a cool thing to do. We came back from India, and then she moved to Wales. We were sort of in the middle of mid Wales, so a little town called Ryder, which is near Builth, Wales, which is in between sort of the Brecon Beacons and the Elan Valley. The Elan Valley is a particularly disgusting place, which I'd find out on selection a few years later. But I remember clearly all the trucks coming in and out, the 4-tonners, we call them 4-tonners, but like the troop vehicles. There's a lot of military presence around there. It was in the woods, and from about 6 to about 9, 10 years old, it was all guns and football, guns and football, guns and football, guns and football. But that,
I can imagine his mum being upset with regards to the sleeping bag being lost. I mean, it's your kit, like their journey, them being self-sufficient. They clearly must have got another one for whilst they were traveling, but it's a hard case. It's cool to hear him acknowledge and mention kit and equipment. So since then, I think he mentioned one of the earlier reactions that I was talking about, that he'll judge a person based on their kit and how their kit is. So I can relate to that as well. You want your kit to not only be where it needs to be and sit well and be comfortable, but you want it to look good too. I'll be honest. With your kit, you want your kit to sit nicely, be easily accessible for the things that you need, and the first rule of SF they took about, make sure you look good.
That period there was probably the most stable, happiest part of my childhood for sure. And I look back on it with nothing but fond memories. I love Wales. It's very dear to my heart. At some point during that period, my mother decided that she wanted to go back and get education because she didn't get the chance when she was a child, a young woman, because she was being a mum. So she went back to our hometown, Oxford, and did further education. So she ended up getting a first degree in international development and politics in third world countries. So basically, she went on to work for Oxfam and Save the Children and other kind of charities. Like, her passport had more stamps of dodgy places than mine did at one point. She's like, she's all over the place. She's a cool woman. But this is where I started to rebel a little bit, because Sean, you have to realize from my perspective that I never really had a consistency. Mm-hmm. And I don't blame her for this, because that was just a situation, but I never had consistency. I didn't have a mum and dad at home. I never really stayed in the same place for more than a few years. I was constantly making new friends, constantly putting down roots, constantly having to rip them up and build again. And it got to about, 10 years old. We moved back to Oxford. I was like, okay, cool. Like, we've had this whole experience in Wales. We've been traveling. We're back to my hometown. Like, I don't know anyone. Like, this is my hometown, but I'm going to a new school. I've got like a couple of people that I used to know when I was like 4 or whatever, but I don't have any friends there. So I built a new network of friends, and I'm there. I'm happy. I was like, football was my thing now. Football. And then she's like, right, we're going to move. We're going to move again. We're going to go down to the South Coast, because that's where the university that she was studying offered the course, or the next phase of her course. And I was like, fuck, dude, I don't want to fucking move again, So we did this whole thing back and forth. I stayed with my dad for a little bit while she went down there. He was in the pub. He was working in the pub. People that drink a lot of alcohol and working in pubs is not a good combination. It wasn't really the right environment for a small child to be in. I was kind of like, not fending for myself, because that's not fair and that's not true. But I had a lot of time where I was just like, my dad was busy and I was doing my own thing. So eventually she was like, nah, you're coming. So I was like, 12, 13 maybe at this point, and I did not want to move again. And that's when I started to really rebel a little bit. I stopped going to school, I was still playing football, but not as much as I should, and hanging around with the wrong people. Girls became a thing. It was like, sitting in the park drinking cider was more appealing than going and playing football, because I didn't really have anyone to tell me no, which was my biggest problem. I didn't really have a dad to be able to be like, I didn't have a dad. That sounds terrible, but he didn't grip me for it.
He wasn't around much.
He wasn't around much, and he was.
I love his honesty, talking about it, taking ownership, responsibility. I can see the value set coming through in Jay when he speaks, and talking about he's very articulate with his words and his descriptions of the freedom that he had, but also the love and the environment that were around him, should he want to, or did, if he needed to take it. His dad's a little bit different situation, who struggled with alcohol, that he's mentioned earlier in this reaction so far, working in a pub. Like, he's right, it's not a great combination. He's been left to his own devices for long periods of time. Honest about his rebelling to his mum. I can understand from his point, and he does really well to get that point across. From his point of view, a young man having to rebuild, lay down, tear up new roots all the time as you're moving around, that must have been difficult and hard. I've never had to go through that. Pretty much the one town, same set of friends pretty much for the whole time, going through primary, intermediate, high school, and grateful for it. And so listening to him and having to go through those types of changes all the time, must have been extremely tough, just listening to that. The mum, man, good on her, with their education, punching on and getting after what it is that she wants to do, and then going on working in a whole bunch of different places. Her passport fully inked with more dodgy places, he was saying, than his at one point. And so really cool, though, the way that Jay articulates how his mum, and what an incredible woman she is, and his dad. We saw that earlier when he was talking, when he was asked that question, 30 seconds, what would he say to his dad if he was still here? And I got a sense of the emotion, the feeling, even though it's been a few years, 20 plus years or whatever it is since his dad passed. you know, the love never leaves, eh? So it's cool to hear him speak the way that he is.
Doing his own thing, he's abroad working, or he was doing this or whatever. And my mum was consumed in a pursuit of her degree. Like, she's like me, she gets same as my daughter. They're exactly the same. One thing that our bloodline has is the ability to become obsessed. When we become obsessed on something, on lock in on something, there's nothing on the planet that will stop them. So she was doing that. She's still young at this point. So I kind of didn't go off the rails completely, but I was definitely drifting. And I was definitely not going to join the military. It wasn't something that I'd thinking about. I was too busy trying to be cool. I was too busy trying to be that guy, if that makes sense. And it was never me. Do you know what I mean? I was hanging around with kids that were like fucking from rough estates. Like, we were going out and, there was a bit of fighting here and there and all that sort of stuff. But I was never that kid. I thought I was, but like, as I look back, I'm not a tough guy. Fucking hell. Like, some of these kids come from fucking nothing, and they're, violent backgrounds, violent places. And, there was a lot of violence around, especially in that time in my life. And I kind of thought it was for me, but it wasn't. And it wasn't until I got to about 15 years old where I was offered a job. Again, talk about pivotal moments, things that change the trajectory of your life. A friend of my mum was a tree surgeon. You have it's like an arborist. Arborist. There you go. But you know what I mean? He gave me £10. He came. He goes, I'm going to give you 10 quid, and that's for a train ticket tomorrow. You're going to turn up here, and I'm going to give you a job. So I left school at 15. You should leave at 16, but I left at 15. I didn't turn up.
You dropped out of school at 15 years old?
Yeah, 15. I didn't get a qualification, not even a basic qualification, until I was like mid-30s. And the army was like, "You're a sergeant now. You got to fucking do the thing." And I was like, "Fine." I can't, I write a bit now. Sometimes I write a little bit, and people are, "Oh, you're good at writing." I'm like, "Fuck knows where that came from," because it didn't come from school. Like, I'm not educated. I'm not stupid.
Maybe from all his reading and stuff and his journaling that he was doing. But man, this is this is fascinating. I'm definitely, this is compelling watching, listening for anybody if you haven't already seen it. Not me, I mean this interview with Jay speaking to Sean on the Sean Ryan Show. Man.
And I'm not unintelligent, but I'm not educated.
Hi, I'm James. I'm the founder of Premium Grounding. When I first heard about grounding, I thought it was the biggest load of rubbish. I was so skeptical about it.
Hey, seems to do all right so far. But yeah, he offered me that money to go and do that job, and I didn't. Spend it on whatever, cigarettes probably. And he fucking turned up the next day. He was like, "Hey, give you 10 quid yesterday, come and work. You're not going to go to school. You need to get out there and work." And I was like, okay. And I'm grateful for this guy for doing that, because he could have just been like, give up. Yeah, just fired me or give up on me, but he didn't. He goes, "I'm going to give you another £10 and you're going to be there tomorrow." And I did. I got up, got on the train, travelled to wherever the place I needed to be was, got off the train, walked to his thing. And from that moment on, I've always earned my own money. I've always provided a roof over my own head. And it was hard work, man. I learned hard lessons there. It was like I was dragging. So, when they cut the branches down, I wasn't able to climb with a chainsaw. I didn't even use a chainsaw for the first sort of few months. It was just literally just dragging, putting it in the wood chipper, splitting logs, putting the logs on the truck, just hard graft, just manual labor from a very early age. Did that for a few months with him, and then somebody else took me on and was like, "I'm going to give you a full-time apprenticeship," basically. So by the time I was 16, I was a fully qualified tree surgeon, MPTC, which is all the qualifications that you need. So I had medium felling, large felling, small felling, aerial rescue, use of chainsaw from rope and harness, all that bullshit, maintenance of a chainsaw. I'd learned it all. I got all the qualifications, paid for them all myself. I had all my own equipment. I owned 2 chainsaws, rope, harness, silky saw, secateurs, the full thing. I was a pretty much self-employed tree surgeon at the age of 16. I did my qualifications on my 16th birthday, which unless that's the earliest you can do it. So at one point I was probably, unless somebody done it a few minutes before me, it's probably the youngest qualified tree surgeon in the country. And that was good, dude. I was happy. I was living in a caravan on my mate's driveway. I moved out home. I was living closer to work, so I had to get the train and all that other bullshit I just explained.
Sorry, I was just, I enjoyed listening to Jay, but I was just smiling as I was watching the slow movement in the glass panels in the background. people walking past backwards and forwards.
So I bought a caravan for like £500. Tiny, caravan, yeah? Like
Like an RV?
an RV.
Okay.
Yeah. You seen the movie Snatch?
Yes.
Yeah, like that. I want a caravan with no wheels.
Okay.
My one had wheels. You know what I'm talking about?
There must have been a look on Sean's face that prompted Jay to ask him, do you know what a caravan is? I just assumed one of those things, I just assumed that everybody knows what a caravan is. And so like an RV. Interesting. Anyway, that just stuck out to me, but it's good. Sean's on the same page now. He's seen Snatch with Brad Pitt, knows about the pikeys in the caravan park and having a caravan, except his one has wheels, reference to the Snatch movie as well.
So I bought this tiny little caravan, put it on my mate's driveway, and I was living in there. I was working every single day, getting up, going out, hard days, coming back. I look at it now, it's like fucking I was surviving on like noodles and chicken nuggets. Like, you know what I mean? But it was cold, it was wet. My boss would pick me up every morning, and it didn't matter what. And I learned a valuable lesson there. It was like two things. Number one, you don't go to work, you don't get paid. You don't get paid, you don't eat. I was like, cool, I can live with that. And the second one was the ability to crack on in terms of, it did not matter to this guy that I was, he was one of three brothers. Their dad was been in the forest for their entire lives. His hands were like their shovels, He was a tree surgeon in and out, That's all he'd ever known. Three boys, they're all tree surgeons now. So he was top tier at that. But he was a hard fucking man, but a lovely man. And he took me under his wing because I guess he kind of knew that I needed it. But it didn't matter if it was snowing. Didn't matter if it was raining. Like we're talking about getting picked up in the 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock in the morning, sideways rain, dark. I'm coming out of my caravan, van's there in the caravan, so into the truck, drive, tree surgery work all day, come back 5, 6 o'clock, go back, eat, sleep, repeat. Did that for a couple of years. In my free time, probably spending it doing, chasing girls and drinking beer. Like, what the fuck else am I supposed to be doing? I'm 17, 18 years old. I'm just happy that I'm earning money. Like, I'm earning £50 a day, which doesn't sound a lot now, but back then that was a fucking, £250 a week. Mm-hmm. Dude, I'm only paying like 25 quid for rent on this caravan. Like, the rest of it's mine. All my own equipment's mine. So like, I'm living the dream to a point. But
that's awesome hearing about, and no doubt, that would have been a lot of money. But just listening to him speak about that whole experience, that what he's doing, 100%, it can't help but strengthen you, build you up, and develop a lot of character in you. Made me laugh when he said he was living on noodles and chicken nuggets. Still pretty similar now, except we use the term noodles and tuna. One of our sons over in Australia at the moment, we harass him because he'll either be having chicken and rice or noodles and tuna or rice and tuna. So he's living pretty frugally in that over there, but he's working and navigating his own way as well as he works towards doing the things that he wants to do.
It was almost like, I don't know if I want to do this forever, but right now it's good. I was seeing my dad fairly infrequently, sometimes more than others. But one thing that me and my dad always had and always shared, and the one thing that for the most part he always showed up for, was taking me to see football. We'd always go, I'm a West Ham supporter, he's a West Ham supporter. So we'd always go for football, But as I started to get older, my tolerance of bullshit, or what I would consider, think when you're a 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10-year-old kid, going to watch a football match and spending half the day in the pub is not a problem. But when you're 15, 16, 17, and you kind of need a little bit more, like, you start to understand these things. You start to recognize it a little bit and be like, fucking hell, like, give me some more. I need more attention. I need more, And that's kind of where that friction started that I was talking about before. Mm-hmm.
Good place for me to pause it. I think it's just under 30 minutes now. This is awesome, man. Great listening to Jay speak. It's great to get an insight into his upbringing. Love the questions that Sean's going through. Love how this one here, Sean, is just me bloody interjecting name. But love how Sean's just letting this flow. Had a couple little spots that made me smile. There are people moving in the background, trying to move sneakily, quietly, understandably, due to the interview. They're probably part of Sean's team, or maybe they're part of Jay's team or group or family. But the words that Jay uses, the way that he describes things, very articulate, very considered. with regards to his role and his responsibility and his choices that he made, and acknowledging his wonderful mother and his dad with regards to the environment. And this person, this tree surgeon, the arborist with hands like shovels, who saw something in Jay. Maybe he saw that he's a good young man who has the potential to go right off the rails with the types of people that he's hanging out with, which Jay acknowledged he was probably hanging out with the wrong crowd. And that person took it as an opportunity. Like a lot of people giving £10 saying, show up here, and they don't show up. Going back and then giving another £10 and telling them to show up. That's huge. It's huge for anyone, and it's great that Jay took that on board the second time and rocked up. And from there, independent living, caravan, got his chainsaws, got his gear, got his qualifications, doing the business. So this is really cool. I know we're not through it yet, but we're a little over an hour, which is a record for me, actually, in 3 sessions to be over an hour. So we'll park this one here, and we'll come back to it later. If you made it this far, appreciate you and your time. Appreciate your support. As always, the message is the same. Anybody going through any hard times, difficulties, challenges, heartache, I encourage you to keep tuning up. You can take a heck of a lot away from what Mr. J. Cowell here is speaking about. And I hope that you do. When you get a chance, I'll make sure that the link for this interview is in the description, so you can just watch that without me being in it. But keep tuning up, keep staying in the fight, keep putting one foot in front of the other, take one day at a time. Know that the sun will shine again, and that those better days are closer than you think. So as always, go always a little further. Remember, who dares wins and who cares wins. And until the next video, there's a big mana wave coming from me to you, filled with my aroha, respect, appreciation, and gratitude for you all.